When I was younger, I used to play a lot of video games. I mostly played Call of Duty, and every once in a while I'd play Shell 14 with my brother. While my brother was not a great competitor, or even respectable at the game, he loved to play. So more often than not, when I was playing, he would come up to my room and say, "Let me get a life. This prefers to let me play until I die once." But being the older, bigger brother, that single life usually turned into 2, then 3, and eventually we were playing game for game until the time came that we got bored. This, which admittedly took a very long time. Honestly, when I was that age, I got a little annoyed because obviously I wanted to play my own games. After a long enough time period had passed of strictly playing Call of Duty, we decided to broaden our horizons, searching for a game outside of what we normally sat down and sat at for hours on end. What we found was a new game called The Last of Us. This was a game far too tedious for me, but proved to be my brother's favorite game. I tried my best to play when he would come in my room and ask, but I never could really do it. What I did not know at the time was how close this game would bring us. Because even though my brother Gordy and I were split by my middle brother Charlie, we spent a ton of time together. And for a couple of months, most of that time was spent consumed by the ever-growing desire to play this game. Gordy became all but addicted to The Last of Us, and consequently, so did I. While he would play, I would sit right next to him on the couch and watch. This I really enjoyed. Even though I could not get myself to play, I loved to watch. We got so buried in this game together that we started to feel for Joel and Ellie, who were the two main characters of the game, and what they were going through. The struggle of fending off hordes of zombies while Joel tried to protect little innocent Ellie, who held the key to curing mankind in their DNA. This ongoing cycle of playing the game together went on for quite a while. The dumb conversations we would have are the conversations that you can only have with your brother. And we all did this while watching this game unfold. Today, these are only memories that I cannot conjure back, but I now have a different way of conjuring up the memory of him. Like most, if not all of you, I have a phone. My phone is perhaps just like your phone. The only difference may be the cracks creeping through the screen that prove to be hazards for my fingers, along with a blurry camera that never seems to get a clear picture. What might be different about my phone is that I don't just use my phone for the menial tasks that come with teenage life. Snapchat streaks, Instagram notifications, and the constant trembling and vibration of an oncoming message from a friend or a telemarketer trying to convince you out of your time and money. Besides those uses, my phone holds a few things that are far more valuable to me than the actual phone itself. Tucked between the half-eaten apple of my space gray iPhone and the slim and surprisingly useful case that surrounds my phone sits 2 pieces of paper laid there a few years ago. While these 2 pieces of paper are not particularly valuable as pieces of paper go, they do hold an enormous amount of sentimental value. I would say these 2 pieces of paper have helped me out far more than my phone itself. What's written on those 2 pieces of paper holds a heavy meaning, and the dates stamped on the back represent the loss of a loved one. Time and time again, I will find myself slipping off that phone case to find some comfort or solace hidden deep in the text printed on the back of those pieces of paper. They both carry a deep meaning that lasts a lifetime, but is yet as short as a sentence. But in order for you to understand the message depicted on those slips of paper hidden in the back of my phone, you need to know something about me. I was a 6-foot-tall, 220-pound freshman who was nearing the end of his first year of high school. Of course, like all freshmen, I had to go through the trials and tribulations that every freshman has to undertake. So as the dreadful finals week encroached on all of us at the end of every semester neared, it was made exponentially worse because on the other side of the hypothetical wall was the blissful nothingness of the summer. So sweet, so exciting, so close. Yet we still had 1 more week until friends would split to go their separate ways over the nearing summer solstice months. But don't forget, we still have finals, was the song that rang deep into the temporal lobe, like a tick refusing to open its jaws buried deep in your skin. With all this shadowing over me, I decided to take a weekend. While I went home to get away from my hyper-focused classmates and deadlines, I could not escape the tedious tasks my mother would lay on me. Although I had a plethora of chores I did not enjoy on my ever-growing list of to-dos, I had one that I was almost excited for. For some reason, I felt like it would provide me with the much-needed escape from thinking about anything school-related, or really just anything at all. So I put my headphones on, blocking out the sound belched out by the old lawnmower. As I started pushing the mower, something that grabbed my attention occurred on the small street adjacent to my quaint house. 2 cars with flashing lights pulled up, and 2 men exited. As they pulled up, they had no sirens on, which was a cause for confusion. Due to the lack of sirens at their arrival, my mom, who was reading the living room, had no idea that they had pulled up. And on top of that, the lawnmower was still spitting out loud bangs like an old cartoon car, so the odds she would have heard was slim. But back to these 2 men. One was a younger man, looked to be in his 20s, and the other was in his late 30s, which led me to believe that he had seen a lot over his career. As they approached, my confusion grew. I stopped the lawnmower as they came up to me with empty looks on their faces. I look back in this moment and wonder what I could have done differently. But to regret it now would be the waste of memory. So I did what most teenagers do in this situation. I directed the 2 officers to the house and told them where my mother was. I sat outside out of pure confusion. And honestly, I couldn't tell you what was going through my head at that time. Not because I don't remember, but because I was ignorant to what those 2 officers could have meant. Why would they come to my house? And what was I thinking letting them enter the house that contained my mother without me as protector? After this thought ran through my head, I cut the mower's internal combustion off and was about to run inside. But before I could, I heard my mother scream. It was the most sobering moment of my life. Not because I knew what she was yelling about, but because I'm what some people call a mama's boy. And hearing that unforgettable sound crushed me. As I ran into the house, I entered a scene from a horror movie. Once the man felt me enter the living room, they addressed me. The younger man took point on what was a walking on eggshells moment. He broke the news of my brother's suspected crash and death, and obviously, this shook me. But knowing I was alone in the house with my mother, I tried my best to stay strong and support my mother, who had just lost her oldest son. This was a pain no one but a mother can understand. I went to the bathroom for a moment after consoling my mother so that I could take a moment to not show my mother that I was shaken to the core. What made this situation worse was the officers did not show up to tell us your son, your brother, your friend had died. They had shown up to ask for identifying features of my brother. At first, this threw me off. What did they mean? I wondered this. Then the older man spoke and said something along the lines, "We think your brother was in an accident. It was in a car registered under your name, but we can't identify him as your son." This is when I realized how banged up my brother must have been. After some time had passed, my other brother and father had gotten to the house and received the news. The hard task of telling my sister was next. She returned a call that had previously been left on her phone, and she was obviously worried because one of the cops had left an ambiguous message on her phone prior to me calling her. But when I answered, I heard the stress in her quivering voice as she asked what the message meant. What does a brother say to his sister faced with this task? I did what I had to do. I told her what had happened and that she should make the 6-hour trek back home from New York. It is easy to see how this caused a tremendous heavy-hearted feeling that overtook my body and almost caused me to collapse. The days to follow were hard, but we were lucky enough to have an amazing friends and extended family who came from far and wide to provide help to my family in our time of need. They would make us all meals, clean up our house, and answer the phone, taking the stress off my parents at a time when they desperately needed it. This would continue for weeks while we fought the uphill battle of a tragedy. The food and friendship that was provided during those weeks was far too much to repay, but was not even scratching the surface of the generosity my family received. The process that followed my brother's death would have been far too overwhelming for me and my family, but the external help from countless others gave me my family the ability to grieve without day-to-day stresses. Now fast forward. Once again, I'm back at Brex. I'm a senior in high school with goals and aspirations. But who cannot achieve these without external help? So many of my friends have seen a reminder on my phone that simply reads, "Remember why you're doing this." And below that, remember who you're doing this for. This holds a deep meaning to me. I went through a time when all I did was wonder, why me? Why my brother? Why did this happen? While I tried to hide this time and banish it from my memory, it was branded into my brain and I could not get rid of it. So why? Remember Joel? His why was simple. He did not protect Ellie because of the secrets buried in her DNA. Rather, quite the opposite. In fact, he did it out of love. This was Joel's why. Now back to mine. This is a simple question with a complicated answer. Like many of you, I want to go off to college and see success in the field, ice, and courts. But I've never been naturally talented at sports, or at least not to start. So how am I going to see success in college if I'm not talented? Is it possible? Well, the short answer is yes. We can, but not alone, not without some external help. I believe that anyone who wants to see success in any aspect of their lives needs some outside help. My outside help just comes in a slightly different package than some others might. When I was younger, I was a lot bigger than most kids because I had hit most of my big growth spurts when I was little. So my brother Gordy would parade me around to his friends like a red-cheeked, freakishly big kid, be showing off like a specimen in a museum for people to stare at. Well, at the time, this was the most embarrassing thing ever. It helped me tremendously in the long run. Now I'm a part of those friends who I was introduced to, having a part of their memory, what my brother had said about me. I was faced with a decision. Do I prove him right, or do I prove him wrong? I couldn't even attempt to undertake what I try on a daily basis without the help my brother gives me. This intangible yet vivid idea of what you want to accomplish is there. It's all about finding a way to get it. And I firmly believe that to acquire it, you need direct help. In my case, someone helping without asking for anything in return. My brother was a positive light that would shine through even the darkest of days. He was always the one to lift you up and when you needed the most, or he would be at the end of the dinner table cracking jokes during Thanksgiving dinner. I give him a profound amount of respect and love because he was always the one reaching out to try to help anyone in need. This was most evident when we arrived for the wake. The room was painted with thousands of flowers, which demonstrated how big of an impact Gordy had on people. We received well over the amount of flowers that the fairly large room could hold. For example, there were multiple NHL teams, players, coaches, along with college institutions, friends, and family who sent us gifts that they did not fully understand the meaning of. Along with the wake, well over 1,000 people came to share the stories of my brother and support my family at the wake along with the funeral. This was another example of how great of a friend, brother, son, and man my brother was. The funeral would mark the realization that the tears I had shed and the prayers I had prayed were insufficient for him to just wake up. But make no mistake, I'm not saying this was a positive thing to happen to me or my family. But like all who have lost someone or something that's dear to them, I wish I could have him back. I'd like to share a quick Bible verse that before my brother passed, we decided was going to be my first tattoo, and was agreed to be our favorite. Soon thereafter my brother passed, I went out to get this verse tattooed on my right arm to remind me there was always hope. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. And much like Ellie had Joel to protect her and comfort her, I have my brother. That's my why. Thank you.